Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing with you guys exactly how you can highlight and contour. It is way easier than you think, but I realized I include it in so many of my foundation routines and I don't explain it in depth, so I was like, I am dedicating this video to explaining and going into it about how I highlight and contour. So let's get started. Okay, I've already gotten started, but let's move with my movements. So the first thing you need to do is prepare your face, which means you color correct, you conceal. Now highlight and contouring comes after foundation. So just in case you're wondering, we've not yet begun. I got you ladies, it's coming. So now here I'm applying my stick foundation. This is Black Opal stick foundation in Truly Topaz, and I'm using a brush to blend that out, and then I'm going to follow up with a damp beauty blender. Now once the foundation and the color correcting and the concealing is done, we now have a good base to get into the fun part, which is now actually the highlighting and contouring itself. So let's get into it. So this is now highlighting. Okay, what you want to do is grab a concealer. You can also use a foundation that is a shade or two lighter than your skin tone. If you want a popping highlight, go 2 shades lighter. If you want a subtle but still popping-ish highlight, go for 1 shade lighter. Now for me, this one is like 25 shades lighter than my skin tone, so I usually mix it with a deeper concealer just to tone it down. So now what you want to do is grab that concealer or foundation. If it doesn't have an applicator like this one I'm using, you could simply just use a brush. But what you want to do is to apply it under your eyes in a triangle shape. I think you guys can kind of follow what I'm doing. In a triangle shape all the way from your nose, as you can see what I've done, all the way up to your temples in a nice triangular shape. It doesn't have to be neat, but y'all, I had to make it neat because you guys are watching this, so it's usually not this neat, and you don't have to make it neat. Just make sure you put concealer under the eyes sufficiently. Now the aim of highlighting is basically to bring back color to your face. So when you put foundation, it evens out your skin tone completely, which is not actually how a natural skin tone is. We have very many tones on our face, so highlighting and contouring brings back that color so that you don't just look monotoned. So in all the areas where light hits your face, that's where you go in with your concealer. So here it's under the eyes, down the bridge of the nose, on the forehead, on the cupid's bow, and on the chin. Now I go in with that darker concealer to tone down that highlighter. Now if you have a concealer that's 1 or 2 shades lighter than your skin tone, of course you don't need to do this, but if you have one that's actually too light, and then you have one that's in your shade, you don't have to go out and buy one that's the 1 or 2 shades lighter. You could simply do what I've done, which is combine the two, one darker to tone down the light one. But basically guys, that is it. Now we move into contouring. Now contouring, as you guys can see, is right below, actually in the hollows of your cheeks. So when you do what I did there, you can press in and find the hollows of your cheek bones, and that is where you need to put a concealer or a foundation that is 1 or 2 shades darker than your skin tone. The more pronounced you want your contour to be, of course, the darker you go. If you just want something subtle, don't go too dark. So once you're done there, you go to the forehead, you know, the hairline, actually not the forehead, the hairline. You're basically contouring on the perimeter of your face, so you also have to take care of that jawline. And then for a slimmer looking nose, you contour your nose as well, just exactly how I'm doing it. And now we are officially done with mapping out where we highlight and contour, and now we can move on to a really crucial part of highlighting and contouring, which is blending. So here I'm using a damp beauty blender. You could use a dry one. Sometimes I feel like the damp one can make your concealer a bit streaky, so you could opt for a dry one as well. So what you want to do is basically just take your time and blend out your highlight. Once I finished blending out my highlight with my beauty blender, I took a brush just to blend out the edges so that they seamlessly mesh with the rest of my face. And then before even blending out the rest of my face, I set that under eye highlight with a setting powder. This is because this under eye highlight tends to crease really fast, so you want to set it immediately you blend it out. So once I set that, I moved on to blending out the rest of my highlights, which is basically what I'm doing here. My forehead highlight, my down the bridge of the nose highlight, my cupid's bow highlight, and my chin highlight. And then once again, I grabbed a brush just to blend out those edges. You want a seamless highlight. You want it to blend in with the rest of your face. So I feel like this is a really important step, going in with a brush on the edges of your highlight. Next, it's time to set all the rest of the highlights, if we can call them that. So I grabbed my setting powder and I just set each and every one of them. Now you leave that setting powder on, forget about it for now, let it bake. Let that setting powder bake, and as it's baking, let's blend out that contour. So note, I have changed beauty blenders. You don't want to mix up your light and dark concealers because your face is going to be a mess. For the contour on the hollows of my cheeks, please note I'm blending upwards. Okay, I'm pushing the beauty blender upwards. I'm blending the contour upwards. And then from there, I blended out the rest of my contour. My hairline contour, my jawline contour, and finally my nose contour. Now for more blending, because you really want that blended look, go ahead and grab a brush and just get in there and blend so that even your highlight and contour are seamlessly blended together. Next up, it's time to dust off that setting powder. Now here, assume that I have baked, which I actually have. I baked for about 3 to 5 minutes. If you bake for longer, it can tend to get a bit ashy, which mine did eventually, but that's nothing setting spray can't fix. But here I'm basically just dusting off the powder. Now this is a step you need to be patient with. The setting powder is not just gonna come off. You need to take your time and dust it off until you get a look that you want. You don't want to look, you know, too white if you've used a white setting powder, or too yellow if you've used a yellow one. Next up, now we're basically done with the highlight and contour, guys. So all the parts that I didn't put anything, they simply just have foundation. I went in and set them with my powder, my regular loose powder. Now this part is so important. After using a setting powder, it's really good to go in with a setting spray because it will tone down your look. And while my face is wet, I like to go in and finish up, which is basically just highlighting the highest points of my cheekbones, down the bridge of my nose, my cupid's bow, and then adding some blush to the apples of my cheeks, just to give my cheeks that color. And that's it, by the way, you guys. So simple. That is actually it. We're done. That's how you highlight and contour in a nutshell. Thank you so much for stopping by to watch this video. I hope you've learned a thing or two. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, comment. Thank you so much for watching. Mwah!